So let's see if you have questions. Yes, please. So you say, this is exactly what Nisargadatta Maharaj said, that to know that I'm nothing is wisdom, and to know that I'm everything is love.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's this sentence, I think, contains probably everything that one ever needs to know about the spiritual life, about spiritual self-realization. So we say that nothing is when we realize that the more we go deeply within, what we find there is space. We don't find there a personality. There is sometimes the instruction, go into yourself. And then sometimes we think that we will find there some very solid and amazing self. This is what we are expecting to find, because we are entering into ourself. This could seem like another form of extreme self-importance, because now we are completely engrossed in ourselves. But then we're realizing that instead of a self, this self-existence is dissolving into pure existence. And in that sense, there is absolutely nothing there. Absolutely nothing. The personality is so peripheral, it's a made-up thing. It's simply the sum total of thoughts and feelings and memories, but there is no person. That is the first part. I realize that I am nothing. That is wisdom. It's the penetrating wisdom of the third eye. You look deeply into yourself all the way, just to realize that there is no self, that there is absolutely nothing. And that's, again, it sounds, to the ego, it sounds dreadful. But to our being, this can only be responded by a flood of bliss, actually uncontainable bliss. It's a release. Then there is the other part, because this nothing is also the beginning of the space that actually includes the entire universe in it. You see, the reason that we have the feeling of somethingness is because the attention of our mind, within our mind, is so narrow. Then it feels that the borderline that is separating our mind from the rest of the universe is very clear, you see? I'm here, and everything else is here. But what happens if this is space? What happens if there's nothing? What the next thing that happens is that the borderline is beginning to dissolve. You realize that this space and this space are just one. Do you know where your mind starts? Meditate on it once. Can you find the edges of your mind? Where it begins? Essentially, it has no location. It is non-local, because there is no, as long as you cling to the feeling my mind, there is a feeling of my mind. But it's just that one thought. You drop that, you can never see when it ends. And that is where you begin to realize that there is just one space, or that there is just one mind. And that within this mind, the whole universe appears. And since this is only one mind, it is also your mind. So that's everything. And in this everything, there is this all-inclusiveness. It's very different from the nothing. It is embracing. As much as you are nothing, you suddenly can identify yourself in all beings. Because you don't stop here. Yes. Thank you for asking that. Entangling what? The thinking machine and the inquiry? Yes, it includes that also. Yes. Yes. Yes, but it has nothing to do with the thinking machine. That's the beautiful thing. The thinking machine, pay attention to the term, is completely mechanical. It is a mechanical process that is only producing conditioning based on memory, based on past. It has absolutely no intelligence. But when you're starting to inquire like that, you're activating a different faculty of your mind. You see, the mind, and this is an extremely important thing, the mind is not the thinking machine. Sometimes, because people think the mind is the thinking machine, they try to kill the mind. Do you know this? Sometimes we get the instruction, drop the mind. You cannot drop the mind. If you drop the mind, well, you will not do very well. Do you understand? So you need the mind. With the mind, you understand everything. With the mind, you meditate. With the mind, you expand. With the mind, you become enlightened. I'm saying because there is no such thing as becoming enlightened. But the mind has at least 3 faculties. The thinking machine is something like 0.0001% within the mind, but because our attention is so narrowed, we only look at it and we think that this is the mind, you see? Outside this tiny island, there is a tremendous faculty of intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and philosophical intelligence. It's the part of the mind that is impersonal, that goes beyond the person, that can contemplate things, that can liberate it. You see? And this is what we need, this intelligence. But even this intelligence is a tiny part of the mind, because most of the mind is endless vastness. 99.999% of the mind is just vastness, is space. And this is why we can only realize the full reality of the mind through silence. So you see, so silence and inquiry that comes from intelligence, they have nothing to do with the thinking machine. It cannot touch it. Thank you. Yes, please. Not your thinking machine. The thinking machine came up. It is important to say that, because only when you say the thinking machine, it is just something that you observe, because my thinking machine and your thinking machine are exactly the same. We personalize our thinking machine, make it a sort of a pet. You see, we live with it, we cultivate it, we personalize its tendencies and make them my own, our own, and then it becomes my thinking machine. So the liberating process is saying the thinking machine. Yes, so the thinking machine came up and said, that's a very good question. Yes, we have on the one hand breathing process and digestive process. They are mostly automatic, right? Thank God. We don't need to worry about an apple being digested. We only do the eating. So, but our responsibility is to decide what enters our body, of course. In the same way, we need to be relaxed enough to enable a relatively natural breathing process, a healthy capacity. But then you say, also the thinking machine is automatic. It goes by itself. So we don't do it, and it is true. The thinking machine has started its activity since the beginning of human culture. At the very first moment humans were able to think, and at the beginning it just enabled them to locate dangers. Then it started developing into anticipating dangers, and then anticipating non-existent dangers, then anticipating emotional dangers, you see, and so on and so on. And then it became this thing that all the time thinks, prepares, plans, worries, makes sure. So this is automatic by now. You have entered into this world, and you are just inheriting the gift, this gift of humanity. You see, you are internalizing in your brain this collective and mental field. Now the thing is that there is only one thing in the world that we need to really take care of. That is only our responsibility and not even God's. And that is the quality of the mind. That's the only thing that is what we are. It's like our little garden. You don't understand? This mind, is the only thing that we really can control. Through our understanding, through meditation, through inquiry, through intelligence, this is the only thing, because most of life we can't control. Our thinking machine tells us, no, you can control everything. You can control everything, so you need to worry about everything because you can control everything. Most of life we cannot even slightly control. But what we can control is how our mind is, if it's free or not. That's a total freedom. So our ability to detach from the thinking machine is the one non-automatic thing that we surely can do. You see? It's moving away from the automatic, because automatic is wonderful that you wake up in the morning and you don't think, I need to brush my teeth, right? Nobody thinks every morning. Imagine that. Every morning you need to remember how to do stuff. You wake up, you go and you brush your teeth and you don't even think about it. Right? That's, most of our life is automatic, and that is good. Is habit. But in spirituality, you do the one non-automatic thing, one non-mechanical thing. That's the only thing that needs to be non-mechanical. Alive, new, fresh, untouched by habit, unconditioned. Because if this is untouched, non-mechanical, you can no longer suffer, ever. That's clear, right? That's what the Buddha said. Whatever happens, you cannot suffer anymore because you have taken care of your garden. You are free from conditioning. That's why spirituality is sometimes, sometimes difficult. They say just relax, but if you are really taking it seriously, you can't really only relax. Because you are like a salmon fish. You are trying to swim against the stream of the thinking machine. You see? So sometimes it feels like you're struggling within yourself. But every struggle that you have to become free and to be unconditioned is worth it. Because it begins to create a momentum. At a certain point, this momentum will bring you to a state in which there is absolutely no effort. The thinking machine will become like a very, very distant echo that has no power over you anymore. It cannot promise you anymore anything. It cannot attract you to do certain things in the name of so-called happiness, because you are already happy. Because you don't listen to it. Yes, please.
I don't know.
You will ground me with time, right? Yes, because we can continue forever. Yes. Yes. So you say, it's like if we are taking away the suffering, we're taking away everything. Yeah? That's exactly what the thinking machine likes to say. Yes. It always likes to warn us about how terrible it is on the other side without it. It's like, you will not survive without me. I'm your feeling center. I'm your emotional center. I'm connecting you to the world. I'm connecting you to life. Don't listen to this guy. What does he know? Yes, because to the thinking machine, this no suffering sounds like basically dying, you see? Like nothing is happening anymore. And this is the wonderful thing about being outside the thinking machine, is that you realize that to a certain degree, whenever you detach from it, it's the first time that you're actually feeling. You're actually feeling the feeling of love, for instance, is discovered as something that has no opposite. The thinking machine only knows love that can change into hate. It only knows conflict, you see. It knows how to gain things and to lose it, to contradict itself, because that's thoughts. They come in pairs, pleasure and pain, love, hate. But outside it, you discover for the first time joy that cannot be turned into depression, love that cannot be turned into hatred, happiness that cannot be turned into suffering, oneness that cannot be turned into separation, and so on and so on. And so that's, for the first time, you're realizing that your heart can be a spring of extraordinary feelings that have nothing to do with the world. You see, they are not triggered. They don't respond, so they don't turn off when the world turns off. That's how you access, for the first time, what we call unconditional joy, unconditional love, unconditional happiness. This is real. But for that, we need to discommunicate with the thinking machine. We don't need to kill the thinking machine. The thinking machine only knows conflict, as we heard, right? So if we think about it in the wrong way, we think of killing something, fighting something, but it's simply not giving the power to that. And then you ask, so now who would I be without it? Without, I don't know, without this thought that without suffering also all the other emotions will go. And then you're starting to realize that there is some bubbling joy inside you, some available opportunity that the thinking machine cannot touch. And isn't that joyful? The trees, the clouds, the birds, everything is exploding with vital energy. When we are in our thinking machine, the thinking machine, we lose touch with this vitality. But we are part of this vitality. Right? We don't need to rely on our own mental and emotional sources. Yes, please. I like it that now all the questions consciously use this reference of the thinking machine, and actually this is I'm very happy about it, because it helps us slowly to begin to see how there is the mind, and then there is the activity that keeps chattering, and that we have the power to identify with it. As soon as we identify with it, it becomes powerful and we become it, you see. And at a certain point, we are the thinking machine. It's and that's when life becomes extremely narrow. So, but we gave it the power, and this means that we can only also take away the power. It's the power of attention, you see, the power of attention. So the thinking machine says that's not okay to compare humans who are conscious, are capable of moving to the highest peak of consciousness and to become one with the universe, to a stone, right? And this is again the fact that our the thinking can only think in extremes, in opposites, you see. So when we listen to that, the thinking says, he just said that we are like stones. You see? As if saying that we are like stones in terms of importance means that we have no significance as human beings, or no higher role. And there is absolutely no doubt that the fact that we can sit here and make this talk is because we have this capacity. By the way, this capacity is not ours. It belongs to the universe. There is this very known sentence that is said by scientists and spiritual teachers alike. Alan Watts, Eckhart Tolle, Carl Sagan, and others, they say we are a way for the universe to experience itself. So that's our mind is not our own. It's like a tree. It's like a stone. It belongs to the universe. We only make it possible through this mind for the universe to know itself. Just like now as we talk, we are fulfilling our destiny. That's why we're happy, perhaps. So we think that this must come at the expense of the other, you see? But what I said before was a certain perspective that helps us to realize that at the very same way we are just as insignificant or just as significant as a stone, you see? That's it. So it's simply a way for our mind to contact this simplicity, you see? There was I used to be when I used to live in Israel. I used to be a friend of an amazing author, an amazing writer. He wrote unbelievable books of deep philosophy and poetry. We walked in near his house, and he pointed at a cat. The cat was walking there, and he said, "You see, for me, this cat equals the entire history of humankind." And I was just 19 years old. I was completely ignorant. I think that only now I understand what he meant. But what he meant was to point out that the largest things in the universe are also found in the smallest things. Could we just meditate for a few minutes? Just to conclude it. And what I would ask you to do, whether in closed eyes or open eyes, just to feel how you can unfocus your attention. Sometimes we understand meditation as focusing on something. But focusing on something can easily become, again, a narrowing down of our attention. In the deepest meditation, we unfocus. So feel how your attention moves from a fixation on one point and begins to expand, to open up. Without one particular object, one thought, one emotion. Not focusing on one thing. But just softly opening it up. Without a center, and without limit. And in this openness, see if you can find an edge to the mind. Does it stop at the edges of your skull? Or does it go as far as the sound of birds? The vast sky above the head? Thank you so much for your participation, attention, and wonderful questions. Thank you.